There are quite a few electric saloons, or sedans as they say in America, and lots of electric SUVs, but one vehicle type is notable by its absence in the electric car market, and that's open-top sports cars. That is, until now. It's from MG, it's called the Cyberster, and it does this. Before we tell you more about the Cyberster, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Open-top sports cars are of course something that MG is particularly famous for. Since its heyday of open-top sports cars, there has been the MG-F, but we haven't seen anything new since then. The Cyberster is a car that MG has been working on since 2017. It's based on a concept that originally saw the light of day at the Shanghai Motor Show in 2021. The production car isn't as far away from that concept as you'd expect. The car is based on MG's MSP, or modular scalar platform, as with its other electric cars, but it's a lot more potent than those. There are two basic versions of the Cyberster on the market. One is called the Trophy, and that is a rear-wheel drive car with 250 kilowatts. And then there's a dual motor GT version that has 375 kilowatts. The basic colour for the Cyberster is called New English White, which you can just about see in the distance there. This colour is called Camden Grey. You can also get a Cosmic Silver and red and yellow. The grey and the silver are £545 and the red and yellow £695. There are two colour choices for the roof as well. The basic one is black, or this red one is 520 quid. Although you can't select that if you've chosen red or yellow body colours, because that combo would look a bit naff. So this open top can be opened or closed at about 30 miles an hour. You can see how long it takes, not that long. You need to wait for it to a message to come up to tell you that it's absolutely finished. There you go, completely done. And opening up takes a similar amount of time. Goes into the back of the car. And if you wait a little bit longer, the two side windows come up as well. This particular example is a single motor car, so the basic wheels are 19 inch, but with the GT dual motor car, they're 20 inch. There's actually a couple of ways you can open those scissor doors. With the key, as I showed you before, or you can press this button on the door itself, and they open this way. You get two different interior choices. There's a red version and this grey version. Both of them use Alcantara and synthetic leather. Seats are electrically adjusted and the adjustments are on the door rather than the seat themselves. They're reasonably comfortable and they have these high bolsters at the side to keep you in if you're having an enthusiastic drive. The central console is quite high and there's this central cubby as well. You'll notice that there's cabling in there because one thing this car actually lacks is a wireless phone charger, so you have to use a cable for that. Well, this is a two-seater sports car, so naturally there are no back seats, but you do get this small area. You could maybe put a briefcase or a laptop case in there. Although you're probably not going to buy an open-top sports car with the intention of going shopping in IKEA, you do want some boot space. So you press this button to open the boot. You can see it's not powered, it just pops open. Not a huge amount of space, 249 litres apparently, so enough for maybe one sizable suitcase and one smaller one, or a couple of medium-sized suitcases. Apparently also enough for a set of golf clubs. You can lift up here, but that's just enough for some emergency equipment, tyre inflator and one of those triangles if you break down. So again, this is not a car that's going to be destined for doing your shopping in, but it's enough for an overnight trip, maybe a weekend away. Both versions of the car have a 77 kilowatt hour battery. That 77 kilowatt hour battery enables the single motor car to go 316 WLTP miles and the dual motor car to go 276 WLTP miles. However, during testing we were only getting about 2.5, maybe 2.2 miles per kilowatt hour, so you're really only going to get under 200 miles of enthusiastic driving. That was with the dual motor car. It should also be noted that this car only manages 144 kilowatts with DC charging, so that means it takes about 40 minutes to get from 10 to 80%. So while you can conceivably go on some grand tours in this car, it's not going to be the best for absolutely chewing through the miles. MG has tried to make as much of the important controls right there at your fingertips. You just start it up by putting your foot on the brake pedal and it just turns on the power. Then you've got these buttons here, you've got park, then you've got reverse, neutral and drive. We'll get to this panel in a second. These are the controls for left and right for those scissor doors, and that one's for the roof. The steering wheel has this flat area at the bottom to make it a bit easier to slide it into the car. You've got an array of buttons. Left is more kind of media control and right is more general menu control. If you want to actually control the adaptive cruise, there's this button, and this is the, maybe should be called the naughty button. It's the Super Sport button. The Super Sport button engages the top power mode, which we'll talk about in a second. On the left is a stalk for the lights and indicators, and in front of that is a paddle for changing the regeneration mode. And on the right you've got the windscreen wipers, and this paddle on the right changes the driving mode. You've got comfort, sport, and then an individual mode which you can configure yourself. This car has lots of LCD panels. You'll see there's an array of 3 that are arranged in a kind of curve behind the steering wheel, and there's this one down here which is for more general controls. And this leads us to one of the few criticisms of this car. This panel here is where the sat nav is, and you'll see the camera is exactly where my face is, and it's very hard to actually see the map. That makes navigating a bit more problematic than it should be. This one on the right isn't quite so important. It has things like energy modes, but again you'll see it's obscured. Fortunately, the one in the middle is completely visible, and that has the speed you're going at, which is very important in a car as fast as this. And on the right, if I had the door shut, there'd be some kind of configurable panel just next to it, which would tell you things like music mode, or there's a ADAS mode. Other things can be put there. There is this row of touch buttons for configuring the most important aspects of the air conditioning, including demisting the front and rear windows, fan speed and temperature. But that brings us to the central panel. This gives you much more control over air conditioning. You can change the temperature by rolling this, you can turn on your heated seats and steering wheel. But there's lots more available here. If we switch to this mode here, these are all the driving modes. This is just for the turning the volume of the stereo up and down. But those driving modes, you can see there's sport, comfort, you can use the paddle obviously to change, then custom, which lets you change a lot of different things in how that actually operates, and also you can change the favourite there. If we go into seatings, that gives you more options to control your seats, how the lights behave, and ambient light. You can change some ambient light in the car. How the cluster behaves. Lots of different options here. And MG Pilot. Now, we'll talk more about this in the written review, but you can see that it's got a full gamut of safety capabilities because they're kind of important if you want to actually have a good NCAT rating. Door lock modes, just the general status of the car. So normally you might find all this in the similar screen, but you can see here this left hand screen has a sat nav, and then you've got different music options. CarPlay and Android Auto are separately supported, but only via a cable. And then you can obviously attach your phone for more general activities. But this is obviously in a separate screen, not the main one in the center. This right hand screen is more about power things. You can see it's got vehicle to load, because this car will actually provide power to other devices, which is up to about 2 kilowatts, which is useful. You could take it camping. Some stuff about charging, some stuff about energy consumption. So lots of things you can play with in this car to change the way it drives, and ultimately that's the most important thing for an open top sports car. So let's take it out on the road. Whichever version of the Cyberster you buy, this is a pretty quick car. Even the single motor version with just 250 kilowatts will hit 62 miles per hour in 5 seconds. The dual motor version with the extra motor at the front and 375 kilowatts of power, that takes a absolutely gobsmacking 3.2 seconds to hit 62 miles per hour. That is the same sort of speed as a Tesla Model 3 Performance. I've been driving both cars around some pretty twisty roads here in Scotland, and they've both been fantastic. The dual motor car absolutely puts the hammer down when you put your foot on the accelerator. There's a slight split second of delay even with the dual motor car when you put your foot on the accelerator, which you don't get in a Tesla Model 3 Performance, but it's quick enough. Once the power flows in, it's all hell breaks loose. Now you will need to be in sport mode, set up super sport mode with the button, configure launch control to get the full acceleration, but it's really quick even without that. I'm driving the single motor car right now, and the steering is a touch lighter than the dual motor car, but there's no sense that you're fighting against that front motor, even with the dual motor car. The weight distribution is also slightly different between the two cars. The dual motor car is a perfect 50-50 weight distribution between front and rear axle. This single motor car is 49% at the front and 51% at the back. You won't really notice that effectively in the real world. When it comes to safety tech, this car is a modern car, has all the safety tech that you'd expect. It's got MG Pilot, which delivers things like adaptive cruise control. I've given that a try. There's a button on the steering wheel, press that, cruise control comes in, seems to work pretty well. It doesn't steer for you, however. You also get things like lane departure warning and emergency braking. For a full list of all the safety features, have a look at a written review. You might have heard a little ding there. That was because it was telling me that I'd actually gone over the centre line. This is a little bit like a racetrack going around here. Don't go into the Armco. So finally we get to that all-important factor, the price. Well, the good news is that this car isn't as expensive as you might expect for a roadster with scissor doors. In fact, the trophy version of this car is just a fiver under £55,000, and you only pay £5,000 more for the dual motor GT car. Now that is the same sort of money as a Tesla Model 3 Performance for the same kind of performance. The Tesla Model 3 is a more practical car, but everybody's got a Tesla Model 3 or a Model Y by now. This car's got a lot more sense of occasion, considering that you pay more than that for a petrol-powered roadster that looks as good as this. That's actually not bad at all. There really is nothing you can compare this car to just yet. You're either going to buy a Fiat 500 or pay a lot more for an absolute beast of a hypercar. There's virtually nothing in between. This really is the first mainstream mass-production open-top electric roadster on the market. So that's the MG Cyberster. It's super fun to drive, it's not as expensive as you think it might be, and the range isn't that bad either. If you're looking for some open-air fun, the MG Cyberster has got a lot to offer. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.